stock in it. It was more just, it was a bad dream, you ignore it. Little things happen throughout your life as far as, I wish somebody would appear and then they would, or, just weird things would happen. So I never took much stock in it. So I never went ghost hunting per se, until again, we started talking. And when he had suggested it at first, I was like, no, I'm not sure about that. A little scared. I'm kind of the chicken, as you guys know, I'm still kind of the chicken of the group, but hooked, definitely hooked. Trying to figure out what those answers are to those questions, even from my dreams from a long time ago. Is it real or is it Memorex? It's just one of those things.
Exactly.
Yeah, and like I was saying about the story about how Cherie and I met Chris and Audra, Cherie and I were down in Tombstone, and we had booked a bed and breakfast. I think the Bordello, I think it was called, down in Tombstone.
Right.
Well, we ended up also booking to go investigate the Birdcage Theater, and Chris and Audra were actually there as well during the investigation. And by the end of the investigation, I think Audra and Cherie were talking. And then we found out we had actually rented the exact same. How many rooms were in there? Maybe 8?
No, I wouldn't even. I'd say 6.
Yeah.
6, 7.
Chris got intimidated with all your equipment.
Yeah, so somehow I done it.
All of the investigative equipment for paranormal activity. Let's make
But anyway, we ended up finding out that we were staying at the exact same haunted bed and breakfast in Tombstone. We were both at the same time show of the investigation at the Birdcage, which I think you guys said too. We would normally not go to that time, but the other.
That was an early one, yeah.
The other ones were booked. Then we found out at the very end that you guys live maybe 2.5 miles from us. That much. Close.
Right.
So it was a very strange coincidence, but like I said, we asked them to join the team, and they've been helping us out, running the hospital and doing investigations regularly at the hospital with us, and it's been fantastic. And I know we had a lot of other things planned for 2020, but unfortunately 2020's kind of threw its own curveball in there. But one of the things that we would like to talk about tonight is a spirit that we've run into at our hospital, and who has literally given us his name, at least his first name. And from that, all sorts of other things that have happened. But I think, Chris, when we captured that, I think at the point where we were trying to get a name, if I remember correctly, you were actually asking to see if Mary, one of the nurses that was in the hospital, the nurse spirit, was in the room.
Yeah, so to back that story up just a little bit, the first investigation that we did with Tony and Cherie down at the Phelps Dodge Mining Hospital in Ajo, it was a phenomenal experience to begin with. But I'm pretty sensitive and had a major heart attack, a year and a half ago, that just my sensitivity went through the roof. And we were in the hospital, and Tony and I were looking down the second floor hallway, and I said, "Hey, something keeps poking its head out of that doorway." So Tony goes, "Let's go check it out." So we went into one of the minor surgery rooms. And when we walked in, I looked at Tony. I said, "Hey, there's a woman in here." And we actually got an EVP that we'll show you in another broadcast that said, and we got the female to say, "You're right." Well, the more investigating we did, the more we discovered that this nurse's name was Mary, and she visits from time to time back at the hospital. And in the clip that Tony's talking about, I was trying to get Mary to react again, because she does quite often while we're down there. And then that's when we got the first response on this one.
Let me see if I can play that for them, just so that they can hear it, because it's phenomenally clear. And he says one sentence when we were, like Chris just explained, trying to get communication from what we thought was a different spirit. But let me play that for you so our audience can hear it.
Mary, are you in here again?
the clip. Let me play it one more time just in case you missed it. Here it comes.
Mary, are you in here again?
I mean, that's an amazing clip, because the audio is so clear with him clearly saying, "I am Michael," and just amazing. But that was kind of our first introduction to him. I don't believe prior to that we had even heard that name in the hospital.
Yeah, that's pretty awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Chris or Audra, do you ever remember hearing that name before that instance? I don't.
No, we had never gotten a Michael. We had gotten Mary. At some point, we had gotten a Joseph. At that point of the investigations in the hospital, that we had never gotten any other names than those other two, and that Michael was pretty predominant.
Mhm.
Yeah, it absolutely was. All right, so the next video that I'm gonna play is once we had learned of Michael and that he had given his name. This was a follow-up where I had actually gone into the hospital and literally confronted Michael and said, "Hey, Michael, are you here? You know, you gave us your name." So let me play that clip for you.
All right, last time we were here, you gave me your name. You said your name was Michael. Michael, are you here? Are there any spirits here that would like to say hello to me? I can feel you. You are definitely near me. I'm going to leave this recorder in here. I'm going to leave this recorder in here so you can speak. Feel free to use it to communicate. Are there any spirits in here? Michael, are you in here?
Definitely told you what he thought of you, didn't he, Tony?
So yeah, the funny part is that Michael definitely responded when I had called out for him, but he wasn't the only spirit talking in there. So obviously we've got multiple spirits within the Copper Canyon Paranormal Research Center, but you could hear other voices, answering my questions as well. But it was just, if you really listen to the voice structure from the one saying, I am Michael to the voice, and they're identical. And we've noticed that over and over through, other clips that we're going to play.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's pretty amazing capture.
Yeah, and we thought so too. He seems to interact with us on a regular basis when we're in the hospital, and I don't think there's a time that we've walked out of there that I haven't picked him up in one place or another within the building.
And also remember when we did the investigation, also the name Michael also came up. I believe that's in Hotel San Carlos, right?
No, we'll get to that in a minute, but no,
Mm-hmm.
that wasn't the same voice.
Okay.
The Hotel San Carlos one was from Hotel San Carlos to Bel Air House, but that's
Okay.
a different spirit. All right, so I'm going to play one more, and here's another one where again I'm reaching out to him because he responded to us while we were in the hospital. So let me play this one.
Michael, are you here? You gave us your name. Can you speak with me? Let's communicate. I know you're here. Oh, I think I heard you.
So again, just, crazy. When you can communicate with a spirit who literally gave you his name, you can call out for his name and he will respond. That to me is amazing.
I hope our audience can hear the audio also. Do you think they can hear that too?
Oh, I guess this is our first test. We'll find out. All right, so the next one I'm going to play, again, same voice, and that's what's really so important about, when you listen to these. But the next one is, again, all four of us in the hospital. And I think we were actually, we had found that spider on the wall. And I kept saying, I think I was calling Cherie or calling you guys saying, hey, I wanted to know what kind of spider it was. But this is an EVP, again, with Michael's voice and very distinctly saying, careful, as Cherie's trying to get you guys to come down the hall. So let's take a look at this one.
Real quick, Tony, before you hit play.
Sure.
Jed's watching, and Jed just said they can hear him, so that's fantastic.
Yeah.
Okay,
Awesome. Hi, Jed.
that's great to know. We have, for some reason, have lost our messages, and I don't know where they're at. Cherie's, we've got it on live on a face. Oh, they're right there, Cherie.
Yeah, yeah.
You have.
There they are. So we got Michelle LeBron that says, Jed said hello. Roxanne said,
Everybody, thanks for stopping
in.
Yeah, we really appreciate that. And thanks for letting us know you can hear them, because when I play through the Facebook Live, they are they're muffled to us. So that's great though that you can hear them. Okay, so are we ready for Michael to warn us to be careful?
Let's hear it from Michael.
All right, let's give this one a play.
I'm going forward. I'm walking forward.
If you're recording or not.
Of course, it's a. Come over here.
Just do this.
We can't even see our face.
All right, I'm going to play that one just one more time because it's relatively short. So let's hit that one once again.
I'm going forward. I'm walking forward.
If you're recording or not.
Of course, it's a. Come over here.
Just do this.
We can't even see our face.
That to me is just incredible. I mean, he clearly, every time we walk in there, he's clearly there. He's clearly watching what we're doing. I mean, obviously he knew that there was a small amount of danger involved with the spider we were trying to get rid of, but it just amazes me that he constantly is making comments and constantly keeping an eye on what we're doing, and that's incredible.
That EVP is very, very clear. Careful.
It is, and it's undeniably a voice that is not either of the four of us,
Right.
and a disembodied voice, and clearly matches the same tonality. Now, it's harder with EVPs to pick out tone of voice because they're usually in a soft whisper. But if you go back and listen to them in any order, you can tell that that's the same voice.
Right.
Okay, so the next one I have is after we actually got rid of the spider, and apparently Michael didn't like that, and this is what he said.
Here.
Always be careful. Don't be.
He's fast.
Baby, he's fast, baby.
So yeah, apparently he thought that was mean that we got rid of that spider, but I think it was
What kind of spider is that?
it wasn't a pleasant one. Let's just say that, and it needed to go.
It was a brown recluse.
Yeah, it was. I wasn't going to say that, but yeah, it was.
But it's all clear now.
Yes. But all the spiders are gone now because we took care of it. So
That's
anybody
right.
that wants to investigate the hospital, you're safe.
Because we're here with you.
Yeah.
True. All right, so Chris, or Audra, either one of you, I'm going to let you kind of give an intro to the next one because you guys were down last weekend in Tombstone,
Right.
and this same voice appeared. So I'll let you explain that.
Well, Chris was the one talking, so I'll let him explain it. I was listening.
And I like to talk, which you'll notice from some of the clips. So I'm going to do a little promoting here for a second. So a lot of people go down to Tombstone because because of the birdcage. The birdcage is world famous.
My God.
Ghost Adventures was in there and Ghost Hunters was in there. There's been numerous paranormal groups that go in there and investigate the birdcage. We've done it 15, 20 times, including the time that we met Tony and Cherie. And we just were drawn. I'm specifically drawn to Tombstone because I love the history and I love this story behind Wyatt Earp. But more than that, it's the energy that Tombstone provides when you're there. I mean, you can feel the 1800s still happening around you. It is probably one of the most haunted towns that I've ever been in. I mean, anybody that's a sensitive that's watching this that ever wants to go to Tombstone, if you want to get that endorphin buzz that you get when you're surrounded by activity, Tombstone is the place to do it in. But we were down there. We had done an investigation at the birdcage, or we had set up an investigation at the birdcage, and we stumbled into a place called Watt and Tarbell's funeral home, or funeral parlor. Now, Watt and Tarbell's funeral parlor is the original building. It was actually there before the rest of Allen Street was built, when Tombstone was still Goose Flats. So it was the original funeral parlor for the entire town. So it is probably the most active building that we've been in Tombstone, and we've done numerous investigations there, along with numerous investigations at the birdcage. So when we went down this weekend, of course, the first place we went to is, we wanted to do an investigation of the Watt and Tarbell's funeral parlor again, which is also known as Nora's place. Nora used to be with Sisters Paranormal. Now she's out on her own, and she owns the building. So we did a lockdown on Saturday night, and it was really cool. We had a couple of digital recorders set up. We had an IR camera with a laser grid set up, and then we were in another section of the building, which is where this clip is from, and we were using the SCD2, which is the spirit communicating device. It's like a spirit box. And man, I was having conversations with multiple spirits, but the one that really stood out, that actually threw me for a loop, which is hard to do because I've been doing it for so long, nothing really throws me off, was Michael actually showed up at Watt and Tarbell's when we were down there Saturday night, and Tony will play the clip so you can hear it.
All right, here's that clip.
Victor. Did you say Michael? Who is Michael?
From the other side.
The other side of what? The other side of Arizona? Is it Michael from the hospital? Was that a yes? I just got chills.
Seems to be.
Wow.
Yeah, that's really awesome. And one of the first things I think people will say is, that voice didn't quite match, but the big difference between an EVP and using either a spirit box or some type of app or whatever the instrumentation is, that does bring out a more fuller, more robust voice than the sort of small end whisper that you sometimes get on EVPs. So, but still, the fact that he said Michael and then said the other side, I mean,
On the other,
The other side.
that to me is amazing.
Yep.
it for once in a long time, it was surprising to me. You can actually hear it in the clip. I'm like, Michael from the hospital?
Right.
And I wouldn't say that Michael has become an attachment. It's almost like he's protector. He's a spirit guide. He's like, hey, these people actually reached out to me and heard me. I'm going to stick around and make sure they're okay. And that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
That's very cool, which is amazing. And to be perfectly honest, it's not the first time we've experienced him doing that. But how far would you say Tombstone is from the Ajo Hospital?
Well, if you look at a map of Arizona, Ajo, from where we live, we all live up in the Northwest Valley, the four of us. It takes us an hour and 20 minutes to get to Ajo.
Right.
Now, to drive to Tombstone, it's a 3.5-hour drive. So from Tombstone to Ajo, if you were to take a direct trip from Ajo to Tombstone, it's a 2.5-hour to 3-hour difference, because the state drops down to a lower point towards the Mexican border. So that's quite a bit of a jump. That's a couple 100 miles.
Yeah.
Right. Which I just think is absolutely amazing. So now I'm going to hit you with one even bigger. Cherie and I went to the other side of the world and investigated the Diplomat Hotel in Baguio City, Philippines. And when we were trying to communicate with the multitude of spirits that were in that building, and there were a lot.
A lot, as in a lot.
Somebody's voice came through and said, I can help. And I think when I play this clip, you will recognize that voice. And here it is.
We've tried to communicate with spirits all over the world now.
That to me is absolutely amazing. With that amount of distance, apparently distance is not an obstacle for the spiritual side of things, because what was that? How many hour flight? 15?
17 hours, actually.
Well, plus the layovers.
Direct flight is
14, 17?
14, 16.
Yeah, that's a long way for spirit to travel. I wonder what kind of energy that takes. But I'm going to play that one just one more time because it's so short, just so that people can hear it again. And here it comes. Nope, I got to hit the button.
We've tried to communicate with spirits all over the world now.
Yeah, that just blows me away. I mean, we were literally on the other side of the world.
That place is really scary.
That was one of the most frightening places I've stepped foot in.
I can't stand,
I've never heard you ask me to walk out 20 minutes into an investigation and it was pouring rain.
Exactly.
You're like, can we go outside? I'm like, oh, okay.
Yeah, we're not even 10 minutes, and I said, hey, because I have that feeling. It's very
right. It was overwhelming when we were in there. I mean,
you can hear voices with your.
You could hear them with your own ears, which just that was the first time I think we both heard them that clear with our own ears.
Right.
I mean, they were saying stuff, and I kept saying to Cherie, "Did you hear that? Are you hearing this? Are you hearing this?" And she's like, "Just stop asking me that. I'm freaking out."
Yeah, you scared me when you asked me that. So
I scared you when I asked if you could hear it.
I'm trying to calm myself. Well, let's just say hello to Tracy. She just joined us. Hi, Tracy.
Hi, Tracy.
Tracy.
Roxanne, how you doing?
And
Roxanne.
Yeah,
Jed.
Never got that one.
But most that are responding are stuck or unable to go up.
Yeah, there's some truth there too.
That is so true.
But it's the fact that we can identify that particular spirit who we know, I don't want to say the word lives, but spends an awful lot of time in the old Phelps Dodge Hospital. Literally has followed Chris and Audra down to Tombstone and literally announced himself as being there. And that is the same voice when we traveled to Diplomat. I do remember the one you were talking about prior,
Right.
but that was a different spirit. That was one from Hotel San Carlos that followed us to the Bel Air house. But it does show that there is both good and bad entities, and how bad, that's a whole nother story. But there's always a balance. And
It
I
also
agree completely with you, Chris and Audra, that he's looking out for what we're doing, where we're going, and that's unique.
Well, it also seems to debunk the theory in the olden days of when paranormal investigation first started and got popular that spirits were trapped. I mean, when you go, apparently you take your free will with you, and some of these spirits can choose to go when and where they want, and they're not trapped in one single spot.
That is absolutely correct, and we believe that too because we've seen it. I mean, if they can travel a couple hundred miles from where you investigated, and they can travel to the other side of the world, they're pretty much free to come and go as they please.
And I believe it's also like they trust us, or
yeah, I mean, there's no doubt about it. I mean, with the amount of time that the four of us have spent in that hospital, you can't help but make a connection. I mean, we go in there for hours, half the night, sometimes more, trying to get them to talk, asking questions, everything under Audra, you're great at that. Who's working the night? What nurses do we have? And they relate to that. The one thing I would like to find out from Michael, though, is whether he was a patient or an employee or a doctor. Or to me, his voice sounds younger. Like I'd put him in the 17 to maybe early 20 range, but that's just my personal guess.
Hopefully we can find more out next time we go down.
Maybe he'll give us some more clues.
Yeah, well, and the cool thing is anyone else that happens to investigate there's a name you can use to try to get a reaction, because he answers most of the time. I don't want to say always, but
right.
A higher percentage of the time than even flipping a coin 50-50. So,
but if you're there on a night that we're doing another investigation, you might want to check with us, because more than likely he's hanging with us.
So he's our protector. Thank you very much.
That's funny, but there's some truth there.
Yeah. So since this is our initial show and you broke the barrier and introduced us as part of the team, now that we're out of the closet, do you want to tell do you want to tell everybody what our roles are on the team, starting with you?
Chris is the one carrying all the equipment.
Yeah.
And Audra is our base.
I'm the butler. I do the driving.
Although Cherie is very funny, and I did get a kick out of that. But yeah, let me tell you what Chris and Audra's roles are on the team. Chris has been sensitive for years, and the particular clip that he was talking about, he sensed that there was a woman in the operating room, and he flat out said it on the recording, and not more than a second.
3 seconds, yeah.
Second after he said there's a woman in here, this woman's voice showed up on the recording saying, "You're right." And it was loud, it was clear.
Loud.
Yeah, you want to talk about a Class A EVP.
Yeah.
In fact, the little clip that I'm going to play at the end of our show tonight has that in it, so they will get to hear it. But you can hear Chris say, "Hey, there's a woman in here," and then she, clear as a bell, says, "You're right," which was amazing. But anyway, Chris has had this sensitivity to spirits majority of your life, right, Chris?
Majority of my life, but since my major heart attack, where it almost took my life, it's just skyrocketed. The messages travel now.
the other great aspect that Chris brings to the team is that he did do law enforcement, and that particular training can sometimes be just the greatest asset.
He's
when
our
we're
protector.
well,
Every time we
sometimes the scariest thing you run into isn't paranormal. It's actually somebody breaking in or doing something else. So yeah, Chris is great for that too. But he's got a great investigative style that is thorough and covers all the bases, and they're a great addition to the Entity Voices team. And like I said, we have so many more things planned for future. And then Audra's just fantastic. I mean, she will pull ideas out of nowhere that are just absolutely fantastic. I mean, I can think of just handfuls of them right off the top of my head. There was a night we were trying to figure out how to get spirits to speak in the hospital, and Audra says, "Let's wear gowns and nurses' outfits and scrubs." That was phenomenal. So she's walking around in scrubs asking questions. We were getting EVPs left and right. She's always up on ideas. She's always asking questions that are not necessarily the typical questions an investigator would ask, but that's fantastic because they get responses that we normally wouldn't get. And a spirit's tired of hearing what's your name and
right.
and the typical ones that are asked
Like,
a million
are there any
times.
spirits over here?
And then the best one was we were down in the hospital where a couple of these clips came from Michael, and she said, "You know what? I want to put an old rocking chair in the baby's nursery room." And I'm like, "Oh my God, that's fantastic!" And from what I understand, you already have it, right?
Did purchase one.
We have it. We just got to drive it down and put it in there. Yeah.
Yeah.
Can't
So
wait.
when are we going back?
Anytime.
That's awesome, though. And Audra brings other things as well. She brings just a real open mind, and she says she's the one who's most afraid of the team. I don't know if that's necessarily true, though. I've seen you do everything we've done, and there were times, I think every one of us went, should we be doing that, or is that a good idea? And you never stumble, and you're always going along with it. So that's fantastic.
Very sweet. Thank you.
Well, thank you.
Yeah, no, thank you guys. But anyway, for anybody who did watch this, I'm sorry, Chris, did I cut you off?
No, you're good. I said she keeps us true too. When the rest of us get a little caught up in the moment, Audra brings us down to reality and says, "Wait a minute."
No, it wasn't that.
Well, awesome. So for anybody who was watching tonight, we just want to say thank you. We appreciate this. We're going to do this weekly. We're going to keep the time frame 7:00 on Wednesdays. Our shows are going to vary. Tonight, like I said, we wanted to introduce Chris and Audra as they are part of Entity Voices, and they've been fantastic teammates. But a lot of people just thought Entity Voices was still Cherie and I. We wanted to make sure that everyone knew that there are 4 of us on this team. But
let's say hi to Cody.
Cody.
Spain? Did I pronounce that correctly?
Cody Rick.
Spain's, yep.
Hi, and he is from TAPS.
Oh, nice. Very nice.
Welcome aboard, Cody. Nice to see you.
Yeah.
Jed's been helping us out quite a bit. Thanks, Jed.
Yes, he definitely has. So thank you, Jed. But anyway, back to what I was saying about the show. We're going to do a variety of things. Sometimes we may be showing evidence that we've captured because, like I said, we do have the hospital to go to. We go there often, but it won't be the only place we're going to show stuff from. But we also want to open it up to other investigators that are out there. If you capture an amazing EVP or capture the world famous apparition or anything of real unusual paranormal,
or places where they investigated,
exactly, let us know. We'll take a look at it, and if it's something that we think would be a great topic generator, we'll invite you on. We have the ability, I think, to bring in 50 or 100 people, which we'd never do. Three or four would be enough. Well, because your screen, they'd be so small you wouldn't even see them. But if you do have something, feel free to send it. You can send it to contact@entityvoices.com. It'll allow us to look at it. And then if we, give us a way to reach you, whether it be Facebook or text or
Yep.
whatever. But and then if
Feel free to send us friends invites too. I mean, the more
absolutely,
paranormal community sticks together, the better. So
couldn't agree with that more. That's awesome, Chris. Absolutely awesome. So, all right, I think.
What else? Are we still missing anything that
You were going to show them.
you were going to show were you going to show the You're Right clip? Were you going to add that in there or no?
It's going to play when we cut out. It's kind of like an ending, and it's just it's about a 3-minute clip of just amazing EVPs we've pulled out of the hospital.
Okay, cool.
Awesome.
I hope everyone enjoys this
live broadcast.
Yep.
All right, we hope to see you next Wednesday.
Remember, we do this because we love it, not because we're getting paid.
Exactly.
It's so true, though. But yeah, this is definitely a deep-rooted passion, and we enjoy it.
It's fun to see all our fellow paranormal investigators also and share their evidence and their experience.
You're absolutely right. I mean, this will give us a platform to open it up to others as well who enjoy doing exactly what we're doing and get to share it. And who knows where it'll go, but that's kind of the ideas that we started with to go down the line. And we know that many paranormal groups and investigators are capturing phenomenal stuff, and we'd love to see it. And we'd love to be able to talk about it as well, where you captured it, how you captured it, what the mood was when you were in there, and anything else. So
that would be exciting.
It sure would.
Yeah, it would.
All right. Well, thank you everyone for joining. We greatly appreciate it. And we'll see you next Wednesday at 7. And here's the clip I was talking about. Have a great night.
Stay haunted.
Bye.
Oh, did you hear that?
I did.
There's a woman in here.
Mary, are you in here again?
Hello.
There is a male talking. I can hear it. Are you in here?